Imagine this. You wake up on a normal Tuesday morning. The sun is coming through your window and everything feels ordinary. You grab your keys from the hook by the door. You get into your car and start the engine. You begin driving to work just like you do every other day. Everything feels completely normal. Then suddenly, a small yellow light appears on your dashboard. It says check engine. Your stomach drops immediately. You already know what that light usually means. A mechanic will look at it and say something like, "Yeah, looks like this will cost about $300 to fix." Now here is the problem. You open your banking app on your phone and look at your balance. You have $38 in your account until Friday when you get paid again. So you make a decision that millions of people make every single day around the world. You ignore the light. You turn the radio up louder so you cannot hear the strange noise the car is making. You pretend the problem does not exist. And you hope that somehow it will magically disappear on its own. But 2 months later, you are driving on the highway and your car breaks down completely. Smoke comes out. The engine stops. You are stuck on the side of the road with cars flying past you. Now you need a tow truck to take you somewhere. That costs $200. That small broken part you ignored for 2 months ended up destroying something much bigger in the engine. Now the repair costs $2,000. You miss 2 days of work while dealing with this mess. That is $300 in lost income that you will never get back. That original $300 problem just turned into a $2,500 disaster. This is not bad luck. This is not just a random unfortunate event. This is something much bigger. This is a financial rule that almost nobody talks about in school or on the news. And once you understand this rule, you start seeing it everywhere in everyday life. Today we are going to talk about something that might surprise you. Why being broke is actually one of the most expensive situations a person can possibly be in. Not because of bad decisions. Not because people are irresponsible. But because the system itself is designed in a way that punishes people who have no financial cushion. Most people think that money works in a very simple way. If you have money, life is easier. If you do not have money, life is harder. That is true as far as it goes. But the truth is actually more extreme and more unfair than that. When you do not have money, everything becomes more expensive. You pay more for the exact same things that other people pay less for. You pay more for food. You pay more for transportation. You pay more for housing. You pay more for banking services. You pay more for emergencies. It is like life quietly adds a hidden penalty fee just for being broke. Economists sometimes call this the poverty premium. But let us explain it in a way that anyone can understand, even a kid. Imagine 2 people standing in a store looking at boots. One person has money. The other person does not. The person with money walks over to the section with good boots. They cost $50. They are made of strong leather with good stitching. They will last for 10 years of normal wear. The person with only $10 walks over to the cheap boot section. They buy boots for $10. Those boots fall apart after 1 year. The next year they buy another pair for $10. The year after that, another pair. After 10 years, the person who bought cheap boots has spent $100 on boots. The person who bought the good boots spent $50. The poor person paid twice as much for worse boots that never felt as good. This is the strange math of poverty. When you do not have money, you are forced to make decisions that cost you more in the long run. You cannot afford quality, so you buy quantity. But quantity ends up being more expensive. Let us look at something even simpler. Toilet paper. Yes, toilet paper. If you have $50 available to spend today, you can go to a warehouse store and buy a huge pack. Each individual roll might cost 50 cents. But if you are living paycheck to paycheck, you cannot spend $50 today. You only have $5 in your pocket right now. So you go to the corner store and buy a small pack. Now each roll costs $1.50. You are paying 3 times more for the exact same product. This happens with everything. Laundry detergent, paper towels, diapers for babies, cleaning supplies, food. The less money you have available at any given moment, the more expensive everyday life becomes. You cannot buy in bulk. You cannot wait for sales. You have to get what you need right now with whatever you have. Now let us talk about banks. Because this part makes people angry when they realize how unfair it is. If you have $10,000 in your bank account, banks treat you very well. They waive fees. They give you free services. Sometimes they even pay you interest. But imagine someone with only $20 in their account. They forget about a subscription that auto-renews. It charges $25. Now their balance is -$5. What does the bank do? They charge an overdraft fee of $35. Think about that for a moment. You were short $5. And you paid $35 for that mistake. That is like borrowing $5 and paying 700% interest. But for millions of people, this happens all the time. They get hit with fee after fee simply because they do not have enough in their account to cover small things. Cars are another perfect example of how poverty is expensive. Imagine someone with savings and good credit. They want to buy a reliable used car. They find a Toyota or Honda for $20,000. They get a loan with 5% interest. The car will last them 10 years with normal maintenance. Now imagine someone without savings and with bad credit. They need a car to get to work. They cannot afford to lose their job. They go to a dealership that specializes in risky loans. The car they are looking at might actually be worth only $4,000 on the open market. But the dealership sells it for $8,000. And the interest rate on the loan is 24%. Over the life of that loan, they might end up paying $15,000 for a car worth $4,000. And the car might break down completely before the loan is even paid off. This is how the poverty trap works. You are not just paying for the car. You are paying a risk penalty because the system sees you as risky. Housing shows this problem even more clearly than anything else. When you rent a home, you are paying 100% interest. Every single payment disappears forever. You build zero ownership. You get nothing back at the end. But buying a home requires a down payment, maybe $10,000 or $20,000. If rent is taking half your income every month, saving up that down payment becomes almost impossible. So you stay stuck renting. And often you are paying more per month than a homeowner would pay for a mortgage. The homeowner builds wealth over time. The renter builds someone else's wealth over time. The system keeps you in place. There is another hidden cost that nobody talks about. Time. When you have money, things are faster. You have a washer and dryer in your apartment. Laundry takes 5 minutes to start and then you go do other things. When you do not have money, you go to the laundromat. That might take 2 hours of sitting and waiting. 2 hours you cannot work. 2 hours you cannot rest. 2 hours you cannot spend with your family. Poverty does not just take money. It steals time. And time is one of the most valuable things any person has because you cannot make more of it. Once it is gone forever. There is also a psychological cost that is real and measurable. When people constantly worry about money, their brain has less energy left to think clearly about anything else. Studies have shown that financial stress can actually reduce decision-making ability. Not because people are stupid. Not because they are irresponsible. But because their brain is focused on survival. It is trying to solve immediate problems. It does not have room to think about the future or plan long-term. Imagine trying to plan your future while also worrying every single day about whether you can pay rent and buy food. That is exhausting. That drains your mental energy. And that makes it even harder to escape the trap. Now here is the important question that matters most. How do you break this cycle? How do you stop the bleeding? The first step is not getting rich overnight. That is not realistic. The first step is stopping the financial bleeding. That is why the first goal that many financial experts recommend is simple but powerful. Build a small emergency fund. Even $1,000 can change everything. Because now a flat tire is not a disaster. A broken phone is not a crisis. A small problem stays small instead of turning into a huge avalanche. With that $1,000, you can buy the good boots that last. You can buy in bulk at the warehouse store. You can avoid overdraft fees. You can keep driving your car until you can afford to fix it properly. That small buffer changes the math of your entire life. Most people think about purchases in a way that keeps them trapped. They ask themselves, can I afford the monthly payment? That is the wrong question. The better question is, what is the total lifetime cost of this decision? Cheap things often become expensive over time. Good tools last longer and save money. Reliable machines break less often. Quality saves money over time. It is the opposite of what many people expect. Spending more now can actually save you money later. But you need the money now to make that happen. That is the paradox. You need money to save money. Here is the truth that most people never hear. Being poor is not expensive because poor people make bad decisions. That is a cruel myth. Being poor is expensive because the system charges penalties for having no margin for error. Everything costs more. Everything is harder. Everything takes longer. Once you understand this, you stop blaming yourself. And you start focusing on building something powerful, one step at a time. A buffer. A small safety net. A little bit of financial breathing room. Because once you have that, the game starts to change. Small problems stay small. Emergencies become inconveniences. And you finally have room to think about the future. If this video opened your eyes to something new about money, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Here we break down complex financial ideas into simple lessons that anyone can understand, even kids. Because money should not be confusing. It should not be a mystery. It should be a tool that helps people build freedom. And before you leave, write this in the comments. Small problems should stay small. Because that one idea might be the difference between a $300 repair and a $2,500 disaster. Thanks for watching. And I will see you in the next video.